A tired single mom falls asleep on a CEO's shoulder on a bus, but when she wakes up and looks at him, everything changes. Tommy Abaco sat in a worn seat on the city bus, the bright lights overhead casting shadows on her tired face. She wore scrubs that were once crisp and white, now stained from a long shift as a nurse. With each passing hour, she felt the weight of the patients she cared for and the families she comforted. At 28, she looked older than her age. Her phone buzzed with a message from the neighbor next door. Amara is asleep. Left some empanadas. And for you in the fridge, you're a good mom, Mia. Tamia smiled, feeling grateful yet guilty. Her daughter, 9-year-old Amara, likely finished her homework alone, made dinner, and kissed a photo of Tamia and her father goodnight. It was the only picture she had kept, carefully cropped so only his hands were visible around her waist. The bus moved forward through the Seattle rain, its wipers struggling against the downpour. Through the wet windows, the city lights blurred into a beautiful mess. Neon signs for late-night diners and the warm glow of homes where families ate together filled her view. The bus was nearly empty with only a few other passengers. An elderly man, another woman in scrubs, 2 teenagers, and a businessman in a suit. The bus smelled of disinfectant mixed with damp fabric and coffee. This was her life now, snatching moments of rest amid a busy schedule. Every day was a careful balancing act. Her morning shift at the clinic, online tutoring sessions in the afternoon, and evening catering jobs. All of it for Amara, who deserved every chance, even if it meant less sleep and little time for herself. The guilt was always there, like a nagging ache in her chest. Other moms attended meetings and soccer games. Other moms had time to style their daughter's hair and prepare special lunches. Tamia left little notes for Amara, filled with jokes and reminders of her love. But she often felt like her daughter was doing more for herself than Tamia was for her. As the bus swayed slightly, Tamia's exhaustion wrapped around her like a heavy blanket. She leaned her head against something warm, a shoulder. It felt comforting, and for a moment she felt safe. She began to dream of her college days, where everything seemed full of promise. "Miss," a gentle voice pulled her from her thoughts. "I think this is your stop." Tamia blinked, realizing the bus had stopped. Her heart raced as she looked up, and her eyes met those of a man she thought she had left behind. Jeff. Even after years, his green eyes, the color of the forest, still held that same strength. He looked different, more polished, but she recognized him right away. He seemed just as shocked to see her. "Tama," he said softly, her name hanging in the air. Memories flooded back, heartache and loss after he vanished without a word. Now he wore a suit, while she felt out of place in her stained scrubs. Tamia's face flushed with embarrassment. The bus driver was waiting for her to leave, and she suddenly felt trapped. "I'm sorry," she managed, wanting to escape before her emotions took over. "Please wait," Jeff said as she stepped off. As she hurried away, she felt his presence behind her. "We need to talk." She turned back, her frustration spilling out. "Where was this need to talk when you left without a word? Where were you when I needed you?" The rain intensified, and the streetlight cast a glowing circle around them, but Tamia couldn't ignore the feelings that had resurfaced. She noticed the slight curl of his hair in the rain, fuming that she still cared. "I know," he replied quietly, understanding the weight of her words. "I know how it seems, but please let me explain." "Explain what? That I wasn't good enough? That your family convinced you that the scholarship girl from the wrong side of town wasn't worth your time?" Tears mixed with rain on her cheeks. "I got the message, Jeff, loud and clear." Pain crossed his face. "That's not true, Tamelia. It was never about that. You have to believe me, it was never about that." A car splashed through a puddle nearby, spraying dirty water. Tama stepped back, but Jeff moved closer, trying to shield her from the splash. The gesture was so natural, so caring that it made her heart ache. "Then what?" she whispered. "What was it about?" For a moment he looked like he would tell her. His mouth opened, then closed again. She could see him struggling with words, the same way he did with tough math problems. "It's complicated," he finally said. "Complicated?" She laughed bitterly. "That's what you have after 10 years complicated?" Tama's phone rang, breaking the tension. Mrs. Rodriguez's name appeared on the cracked screen. "Tama, I'm sorry to call so late, but Amara woke up. She's asking for you. She had another nightmare. Amara, her sweet and smart daughter, who had her father's green eyes and talent for numbers, and had no clue that the man she'd heard about her whole life was standing just 3 feet away. "I'll be right there," Tama said, ending the call. She looked up at Jeff and let herself really see him for a moment. The boy she had loved was still there, beneath his fancy clothes and polished appearance. He was still there in the way he held himself against the rain, in the way his eyes stayed on her face, and in the way his hands seemed to want to reach out. "I have to go," she said softly. "My daughter needs me." Something changed in Jeff's expression, surprise, followed by what looked like hurt. "You have a daughter?" It wasn't a question, but she nodded anyway. "Amara, she's 9. It wouldn't take long for Jeff, who was as smart as ever, to figure it out. Tama saw the moment understanding hit him, followed closely by shock. "Tama, don't!" She stepped back, shaking her head. "Don't ask, please." She turned and walked away, her old sneakers splashing through puddles. She heard Jeff call her name once, desperate and broken, but she couldn't look back. If she did, she might fall apart completely. It wasn't until she reached her apartment building that she realized she was crying. 10 years of walls she'd built, years of protecting herself and Amara, years of telling herself she was over Jeff Wilsman, all of it shattered by a short bus ride and a few minutes in the rain. Climbing the 3 flights to their small apartment, she found Mrs. Rodriguez waiting with concern in her eyes, while Amara slept restlessly in her bed, clutching the stuffed elephant Jeff had won for Tama at the carnival. It was a keepsake she could never throw away, no matter how hard it was to look at. As she changed out of her wet clothes, Tama caught a glimpse of herself in the bathroom mirror. Her hair was messy, her makeup smudged, her eyes tired and red. This was who she had become, a weary single mother barely keeping afloat, far from the confident student who used to talk about big ideas with Jeff until sunrise. But then she thought of Amara, kind and bright, full of promise and goodness. Tama straightened her back. She'd built a life, not the one she planned, but a good one, full of love and purpose and small victories. Jeff Wilsman could keep his fancy suits and his complicated reasons. She and Amara were fine without him, though her heart whispered a different story. Outside, the rain kept falling, freshening the city for another day. Somewhere in the dark, Jeff stood on a deserted street corner, looking up at a lit window 3 stories high, wondering if the woman inside would ever forgive him for the choices he had made when he was too young and too afraid to fight for what mattered. The night seemed to hold its breath, waiting for tomorrow to bring them face to face again. Because in a city full of people, some meetings felt like fate, and some loves were too strong to fade away quietly. Chapter 2. Ghosts of the Past. Jeff stood still on the rain-soaked sidewalk, watching Tama's figure vanish into the apartment building. The streetlight caught a last glimpse of her dark hair before the heavy door closed, leaving him alone with the sound of rain and the weight of 10 years of regret. A daughter. Those words echoed in his mind like a prayer and a sentence at the same time. 9 years old. The math was painfully simple. 9 months after he left. 9 months after their last night together, when she'd whispered, "I love you," like a promise he was too young and scared to keep. His hands trembled as he took out his phone to call his driver. Suddenly he felt like he was 20 again, standing in the apartment they shared near campus, watching Tama sleep curled up in his old shirt. She had a big test the next morning, and he had spent the evening quizzing her while she pretended to study, stealing soft moments between their studies. "Where to, Mr. Wilsman?" His driver, Marcus, appeared quickly, asking no questions about why he was standing alone in the rain at midnight. "Home," Jeff said automatically before stopping. Home was a penthouse apartment overlooking Elliott Bay, all glass and steel and empty spaces. Home used to be a small studio with water stains on the ceiling and a radiator that clanked all night, where Tama made coffee in a machine that only worked if you hit it just right, and where they dreamed about their future over ramen noodles and shared textbooks. As the car drove away from the curb, Jeff closed his eyes and let himself remember the University of Washington in October 2014. "You're going to fail if you keep staring at that girl." Instead of the periodic table, he saw Tama Bako sitting under a tree in the quad, surrounded by medical books and glistening in the sunlight. I'm not staring, he protested, but his eyes drifted back to her. She was beautiful in a way that made his chest ache. Not magazine beautiful, but real beautiful, smart beautiful. Just go talk to her, his roommate Danny said. She's preemed. I know she's brilliant. She probably thinks I'm just another rich kid. So prove her wrong, Danny urged. You're not stupid, Wilsman. Before he could talk himself out of it, Jeff was walking toward her. Mind if I sit? He asked when he reached her tree. I promise I'm not a creepy stalker. I'm Jeff. Jeff and Tama were in Professor Thompson's physics seminar together. She looked at him for a moment and then nodded. I know who you are. You asked if quantum mechanics could let us travel back in time. Jeff felt a bit embarrassed. You remember that? It was a good question. Most people just want to pass. But you actually seem curious about the impossible. The impossible is just something waiting for someone smart enough to figure it out, he replied, feeling a bit showy. But when Tama laughed, a bright and genuine sound, he felt better. I like that. But if we're talking about impossible things, try memorizing every bone in the human body while working 20 hours a week just to buy textbooks. What if I helped? He suggested. Physics and physiology have more in common than you'd think. She tilted her head, considering. Would you help me study? I'd like to, he said honestly. They studied together until the sun went down, and eventually, her head rested on his shoulder. That moment changed his life, marking the start of everything before Tama and everything after. Suddenly, a bump in the road jolted Jeff back to reality. Looking out the rain-specked window, he saw downtown Seattle approaching. Each lighted window represented lives and challenges he could not comprehend. Except now, he did understand some things, didn't he? He felt the weight of someone's absence. His phone buzzed with a text about an early meeting, but he deleted it without looking. For 10 years, work had been a way for him to cope. Yet tonight, sitting in a car worth more than most people's yearly salaries, heading to an empty apartment, he felt the burden of all the days he had missed. Marcus, he said suddenly, turn around and take me back to Capitol Hill, to the apartment building where you picked me up. When they arrived at Tama's building, Jeff sat in the car, gazing at the lighted window on the 3rd floor. Then he called his lawyer. Richard, it's Jeff Wilsman. I need every record on Tama Bako, and I need it by morning. He had lost her once because he was too young to fight. This time, he wouldn't make the same mistake. The rain kept falling as Jeff waited outside her window, watching over the family he never knew he had, planning how to win back the only woman he ever loved. The Seattle Community Health Clinic was filled with the smell of disinfectant and hope. Jeff stood in the parking area at 7:30 a.m., watching through the wet windows as nurses and doctors prepared for a new day of helping the city's most vulnerable people. He had been standing there for 20 minutes, building up the courage to go inside. His research had been thorough. Richard had given him a detailed report. Tama worked here 4 days a week, made $48,000 a year, lived in a rent-controlled apartment, and had not missed a day of work in 3 years. She earned her nursing degree while raising her child, graduating with honors at 26. She even volunteered on weekends, taught CPR classes, and tutored pre-med students online. Reading about her life made Jeff feel proud, but also deeply regretted the past. This was the woman who dreamt of becoming a doctor, who spent nights studying medical journals. She had been accepted to medical school on a full scholarship, which would have changed everything. But he had left her when she needed him the most. The report did not say what happened to that scholarship, but he could guess. Pregnant and alone, Tama had to choose between her dreams and being a mother. She chose to be a mom, and it cost her everything. Sir, you've been standing here for a while. Are you okay? A security guard walked up, looking kind but concerned. I'm fine. Just nervous about a meeting, Jeff replied quickly. The guard nodded. This is my first time volunteering. The clinic can be overwhelming, but Dr. Martinez and the team are good people. They will take care of you. Before Jeff could correct him, the guard left. This unexpected opportunity made him realize that if they thought he was a volunteer, he could go inside without making a scene. The lobby was small and warm, decorated with mismatched chairs and children's drawings. A sign welcomed people in cheerful colors. Behind the reception desk, a woman with kind eyes approached him. "You must be the new volunteer from the Wilsman Foundation," she said with a smile. "I'm Rosa. Tama told us you would be coming to see our programs." Jeff's heart raced. "Tama mentioned me?" "Oh yes, she was excited when she heard the foundation was sending someone to learn more about our work. We've been hoping for increased funding for our prenatal program." Rosa's smile faded a bit. "But I have to say, you are much younger than we expected." Jeff realized what was happening. His foundation, which he had quietly started 3 years ago, supported many community clinics. Tama had no idea he was behind it, that his donations had supported the work she was doing all along. "I'm looking forward to learning about your programs," he said, trying to stay calm. Rosa smiled. "Let me get Tama. She's our best nurse. She probably knows more about community medicine than half the doctors in this city." Jeff held his breath as Tama walked in, wearing well-used scrubs, but her grace still shone through. She was laughing at something a coworker said until she saw him. The laughter faded, and she looked shocked. "What are you doing here?" she whispered. Rosa looked back and forth, confused. "You two know each other?" Tama struggled to respond. "We went to college together." "What a coincidence," Rosa said, not sensing the tension. "Well, he'll let you two catch up while you show him around." "Mr. Wilsman," Jeff spoke quietly, his attention still on Tama. "Jeff Wilsman." Rosa's expression changed immediately. "Wilsman as in the Wilsman Foundation?" The room went still. Other staff had gathered, drawn in by the quiet talk. Jeff noticed when realization hit their faces. He was their biggest supporter, the anonymous donor helping them through tight budgets. But Tama looked hurt, as if she'd been struck. "You? It was you all along. The foundation, the donations, it was you, Tama." "No," she said, backing away, shaking her head. "You don't get to do this. You can't come here to my work, where I've built my life, and pretend to be a hero." "I'm not pretending anything," Jeff said urgently. "I just wanted to help. Help." Tama's voice grew louder, attracting more attention. "You think money helps? You think giving your guilt money to the clinic where I work makes up for leaving me alone and pregnant?" Her words hit the small lobby like a bomb. Rosa gasped. The other staff members stared in shock. Jeff felt his careful plans and good intentions crumble around him. "Tama, please," he said softly. "Can we talk somewhere private?" "Private?" She laughed bitterly. "Like the private conversation we should have had 10 years ago. Like the goodbye you never bothered to give me." Dr. Martinez, a small woman with gray hair and a strong presence, came out from the back office. "What's going on here?" "Nothing," Tama said quickly, her professional calm returning. "Just a misunderstanding." But Dr. Martinez noticed everything. She glanced at Jeff, then at Tama, and back at Jeff. "Mr. Wilsman, perhaps we should talk about your visit in my office." "Actually," Jeff replied, "I think I should go." He headed toward the door, but Tama's voice stopped him. "Wait." She stood still in the lobby, her colleagues watching with curiosity, her past colliding with the present. When she spoke again, her voice trembled. "Rosa, can you tell Dr. Martinez I'll take my break early? Mr. Wilsman and I need to speak." She walked past him toward the exit, not looking back to see if he would follow. Jeff noticed Rosa's worried frown as he followed Tama outside. The small courtyard was surrounded by tall brick walls covered in ivy, making it feel separate from the street's chaos. A few picnic tables and chairs suggested this was where staff took breaks on better days. Now the wet furniture glistened with rain, and the air smelled of damp concrete and fallen leaves. Tama's heart raced as she tried to understand what had just happened. Jeff, her Jeff, had been funding her workplace for 3 years. Each piece of new equipment she had received, every delivery that came just in time, had been thanks to him. The truth felt both like betrayal and a gift wrapped together, hard to separate. 3 years, she repeated softly. The words lingered like an accusation and a prayer. "The Wilsman Foundation has been supporting this clinic for 3 years. How long have you known I worked here?" 3 years, Jeff said. She turned to face him, her eyes blazing. 3 years you've been watching me. 3 years you've known exactly where I was, what I was doing, how I was struggling, and you never thought to actually talk to me. "I thought about it every day," he said honestly. "But what could I say? Hi, Tama. Sorry I left you. Here's some money to make up for it. You could have said anything. Her composure broke, and tears fell down her cheeks. You could have said you were sorry. You could have explained why you left. You could have asked about our daughter. The word hung between them like a confession and an accusation. I didn't know, Jeff said quietly. Not until last night. I swear to you, Tama, I didn't know about Amara. But you know now, she wiped her cheeks with her hand. And what? You think you can just show up and act like a father? You think your money gives you the right to be in her life? I don't think anything gives me the right, Jeff replied. But she's my daughter. That has to count for something. She's been your daughter for 9 years, Tama shot back. Where have you been? The question hit him hard. Where had he been? Building a company, making money, living the life his father wanted for him, pretending he was happy. I was trying to protect you, he finally said. Protect me? Tama stared at him, confused. By leaving, by not saying anything, and letting me think I wasn't worth your time. My father found out about us, about how close we were becoming. He had already arranged for me to marry someone else. It was supposed to be a business deal disguised as a romance. When I told him I loved you and wanted to marry you instead, he became furious. He said he'd ruin everything if I contacted you again. So you just believed him? Tama's voice was empty. I was young and scared, Jeff said. I had seen what my father could do when he wanted to hurt someone. I thought I was protecting you. I thought if I left, you could have a good life without my family's issues. The life I deserved was the one we planned together. It included you. The simple statement broke something in Jeff's heart. All these years he had told himself he was noble, that he saved Tama from his family's problems. But now, seeing her pain and the life she had to build alone, he understood the truth. He had been a coward. I know, he said quietly. I know I failed you. I know I failed our daughter, but I'm here now, and I want to make things right. Some things can't be fixed with money, Tama said. Then tell me how, he pleaded. What do I need to do? Tama looked at him for a long moment, her face unreadable. I need to get back to my work. My patients need me. Tama, don't come here again, she said firmly. This is my space, the one part of my life that isn't affected by our past. Don't take that from me, too. She began to walk away but paused. If you really want to help, keep supporting the clinic, but do it anonymously and stay away from me. Jeff watched her go back inside, leaving him alone in the quiet courtyard with the weight of his choices and unspoken words. But as he stood there, he realized something had changed. For the first time in 10 years, Tama knew why he left. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a start. And for the first time since he was 20 years old, Jeff Wilsman was ready to fight for what mattered most, no matter the cost. Some things were worth the fight. Some loves were worth the struggle. And Tama and their daughter were worth everything. Chapter 4. Mirrors of the Heart. The Roosevelt Elementary School gym buzzed with the energy of kids explaining science concepts to anyone who would listen. Jeff stood by the entrance, holding a clipboard and trying to blend in, although he felt out of place. He knew he shouldn't be there. Tama had made that clear 3 days ago at the clinic. But when his assistant mentioned that the elementary school science fair needed more judges and wanted someone from the tech field, he couldn't say no. He told himself it was about helping children learn and supporting the community. He didn't admit it was because he hoped to see his daughter. Mr. Wilsman, thank you for volunteering, said a friendly woman with a badge that read, Mrs. Chen, the principal. We are honored to have you judging our fair. Jeff forced a smile, feeling a knot of guilt in his stomach. Happy to help. Mrs. Chen introduced him to the other judges, leading him to a group of adults with clipboards near the first row of projects. They shook hands and exchanged small talk, but Jeff's eyes were already drawn to the colorful displays around the gym. Volcanoes, solar systems, plant growth experiments, and simple machines. These were the creative efforts of children trying to learn about the world. Each judge takes a section, Mrs. Chen explained, checking her clipboard. Mr. Wilsman, you will cover rows D through F. We'll meet again in an hour to discuss our observations. Jeff nodded and walked toward his assigned section, looking over the project titles as he went. Why Do Leaves Change Color? By Marcus Thompson. The Physics of Basketball by Sarah Kim. He paused when he came across a project titled Single-Parent Families, Statistical Analysis and Social Impact by Amara Bacco. His heart sank. This was his daughter. She had chosen a topic that directly related to their family situation. Jeff approached the display carefully. It was well organized, filled with charts and graphs that showed a level of understanding far beyond what he expected from a child. In the center, a school picture caught his attention. His daughter had his green eyes and Tama's determined expression. With her dark hair neatly styled and a smile that was both confident and shy, she looked perfect. "Are you here to judge my project?" asked Amara, standing before him for the first time. Seeing her up close, he noticed the strong resemblance. She had his chin and the same green eyes that he remembered from childhood pictures. Yet, her gaze revealed a keen intelligence and quiet strength that was all Tama. "Yes, I'm one of the judges. This is your project," he managed to say. "Uh-huh." Amara stood tall, her pride evident. "I'm Amara. I've been working on this for 2 months." 2 months? Jeff repeated, still in shock that this brilliant child was his. "That's very impressive. Why did you choose this topic?" Her expression grew serious. "Well, I live with just my mom, and I wanted to know if that was normal or strange. I interviewed 23 kids in my class, and it turns out 12 of them also live with a single parent. Then I wanted to know more about it nationally." Amara pointed to her charts confidently. "See? 23% of kids under 18 live with only one parent. Most single-parent homes are led by mothers. The reasons are divorce, a parent's passing, or parents who never married." Hearing her speak about their situation made Jeff's heart ache. His daughter was growing up examining why he wasn't part of her life. "What conclusions did you reach?" he asked gently. "Well, I thought kids from single-parent families might do worse in school," Amara explained. "But it turns out it depends more on support and family involvement. My mom helps me a lot with my studies, and I have the best grades in my class." A mix of pride and sadness filled Jeff. Of course, Tama was an amazing mother. She had raised their daughter to be smart and confident, even though he had left them to manage on their own. "That's a very thoughtful analysis," Jeff said. "You're clearly very smart," Amara replied, beaming. "My mom says I get my brains from my dad. She says he was the smartest person she knew, and that's why I'm good at math and science." Her words struck Jeff deeply. Even after all he had done, Tama still spoke highly of him to their daughter. "Your mom sounds like a wonderful person," he said. "She is," Amara replied simply. "She works really hard to provide for us. She has 3 jobs, but still helps with my homework every night and supports me at school events. She's the best." Jeff looked away, overwhelmed with emotion. When he felt ready to speak, he noticed Amara studying him with curiosity. "Are you okay, mister? You look kind of sad." "I'm fine," he said quickly. "Just thinking about how lucky you are to have a great mom." "I know," Amara said matter-of-factly. "Sometimes I wish I had a dad too, though. Not because my mom isn't enough, but it might be nice to have someone to teach me about things and help my mom not be so tired." Her honest words nearly broke him. Jeff knelt down to meet her gaze. "Can I share something with you?" he asked softly. "Sometimes parents make big mistakes, and those mistakes can hurt the people they love, even when they want to protect them." Amara tilted her head as if pondering this. "Like when my mom made me give away my hamster because she thought it would be too hard to take care of it? But really, she just worried about the costs." "Exactly," he replied, his voice thick. "But it can be bigger, much bigger." "Well," Amara said practically, "my mom always says mistakes are chances to learn, and it's never too late to fix things if you truly care and are willing to work hard." Jeff thought about her wisdom. Simple, yet so true. "Your mom is very smart," he said. "She went to college with my dad," Amara said proudly. "She has pictures of them studying together. She said they wanted to be scientists and change the world." "What happened?" Jeff asked, even though he already knew the answer. "He had to leave," Amara replied simply. "My mom doesn't talk about it much, but I think something sad happened. She gets upset sometimes when she thinks I'm not watching." Jeff closed his eyes for a moment, picturing Tama alone and expecting a baby, thinking of her dreams fading away, imagining her working hard while juggling nursing school at night, raising Amara with love and strength while he knew nothing about them. "I bet he thinks about you," Jeff said softly. "Your dad? I bet he thinks of you every day and wishes things were different. Do you really believe that?" Amara's green eyes sparkled with hope. "I know it," Jeff said confidently. "And if he could tell you one thing, it would be that he's proud of you. Proud of how smart, kind, and strong you are." Amara smiled, and Jeff could see Tama's smile in their daughter's face. "That's nice to think about. Do you want to see my data analysis? I made graphs on Excel." For the next 20 minutes, Jeff listened as his daughter explained statistics with the excitement of someone much younger and the intelligence of someone much older. She was amazing, curious, and self-assured, completely unaware that she was having the most important conversation of her father's life. "Amara?" A familiar voice called from across the gym. "There you are, sweetheart." Jeff's heart sank as he saw Tama walking towards them in a yellow sundress, looking younger than her 28 years. She smiled at Amara with pure love and pride, but when she turned to Jeff, her smile faded immediately. "What are you doing here?" she asked in a controlled voice. "Mommy, this is Mr. Wilsman." Amara looked up at Jeff expectantly. "Jeff Wilsman," he said, standing up slowly. "Wilsman? Like the tech company? The one that makes the educational software for my school?" "Yes," Jeff replied softly, still focused on Tama's face. She looked scared and angry at the same time. "Mom, did you know he was here?" Amara asked excitedly. "He's been asking good questions about my project. He knows a lot about statistics." "I'm sure he does," Tama said carefully. "Amara, why don't you go get some juice from the refreshment table? I need to talk to Mr. Wilsman." "But—" Amara looked between them, sensing the tension. "Are you guys going to fight?" "No," Tama said quickly. "We're just having a quick chat." "Go on." Once Amara was out of earshot, Tama turned to Jeff, her frustration barely controlled. "You promised to keep away from my work," she said sternly. "This is her school, Jeff. You can't just show up." "I didn't know she'd be here," Jeff explained honestly. "I volunteered to judge the science fair before I realized—" He lowered his voice. "Before I found out I had a daughter at this school." Tama glanced around to ensure no one was listening and stepped closer. "You can't just walk into her life whenever you want. She's incredible," Jeff said, filled with admiration. "Did you see her project? She's only 9 and doing statistical analysis that would impress college students." "She gets it from you," Tama said automatically, but then looked like she regretted it. "She gets it from both of us," Jeff corrected gently. "But mostly from you. The way she talks about you, the love and respect in her voice. Tama, you've raised her wonderfully." For a moment, Tama looked less defensive. "She is pretty amazing, isn't she?" "She's perfect," Jeff said sincerely. "And she's ours." The weight of those words hung between them, a mix of connection and distance. Tama's defenses went back up. "No, she's mine. You don't get to claim her because you share DNA." "I'm not trying to take her," Jeff said urgently. "I just talked to my daughter for the first time. She's bright and funny, and I missed out on so much. I can't change the past, but I want to be part of her future." Across the gym, Amara chatted with another kid by the refreshment table, but kept glancing back at where her mother talked to the kind judge who was interested in her project. "She asks about you," Tama said quietly, following his gaze. "Not often, but sometimes. Usually at night when she's supposed to be asleep. She wants to know if you're smart like her, if you have green eyes, if you would be proud of her science projects." "What do you tell her?" Jeff asked. "I tell her the truth," Tama said simply. "That you're the smartest person I ever knew, that she has your eyes and your mind, and that wherever you are, you'd be proud of who she's becoming." The kindness in her words surprised Jeff, but Tama continued firmly. "I also tell her that not everyone is meant to be a parent, that sometimes love isn't enough to make someone stay." Her words stung, but beneath the hurt, Jeff sensed a challenge. "Prove me wrong," her eyes seemed to say. "Show that you can be there." "Mommy?" Amara bounced back over, holding a cup of apple juice and a cookie. Mrs. Chen says they're about to announce the winners. Do you think I have a chance? I think you're going to win first place, Jeff said before Tama could respond. Your project is the best thing I've seen today. Amara beamed at him and then looked at her mother. Can Mr. Wilsman sit with us for the announcements? He's been so nice and really gets statistical analysis. Tama looked uncertain. Families were gathering in the bleachers, and saying no would require an explanation that Amara wasn't ready for. Of course, Tama finally said. Mr. Wilsman is welcome to join us. As they found seats on the bleachers, Amara chatted excitedly about her project and hopes for the competition. Jeff felt something he hadn't felt in 10 years, a sense of belonging, of being part of something real and meaningful. When they announced that Amara had won first place in her grade, Jeff cheered louder than anyone else in the gym. When Amara hugged her mother and then him, Jeff's heart swelled with an overwhelming love. This was his daughter, his brilliant, beautiful daughter. Somehow he would find a way to be the father she deserved, even if it meant proving to himself first. As Amara posed for pictures with her blue ribbon, Jeff caught Tama watching him with a look he couldn't read. Thank you, he said quietly, for letting me stay for this. Don't thank me yet, she replied. This doesn't change anything. But when Amara took both their hands to walk to the car, saying that her two favorite adults from the science fair should walk together, Jeff noticed a sparkle in Tamilia's eyes that looked almost like hope. For the first time in 10 years, Jeff Wilsman dared to believe that perhaps some mistakes could be forgiven, some families could be mended, and some love could find its way back home. Chapter 5. When the past refuses to stay buried. The private investigator's office smelled like coffee and lost dreams. Jeff sat across from Marcus Webb, a former Seattle detective who had just handed him a thick manila folder that felt heavier than anything Jeff had ever held. Are you sure you want to see this? Marcus asked gently. Jeff's hands shook as he opened the folder. Inside were phone records, hospital documents, legal papers, and photographs. 10 years of evidence that created a painful picture. The first document was a hospital record from November 15, 2014. Patient, Tama Bako. Reason for visit, pregnancy. Emergency contact, Jeff Wilsman. Phone number, 206555147. His old number, the one that had been disconnected the day he left Seattle. She tried to call you 37 times in the 2 weeks after you left, Marcus said softly. Jeff looked at the call log, each time stamp feeling like a sharp pain. There were desperate calls, late-night attempts, and repeated tries. There's more, Marcus said, his voice heavy with sympathy. The next document was a certified letter sent to Jeff's family estate in Bellevue, signed for by his father. It had been delivered 3 weeks after Jeff left for Boston. With trembling hands, Jeff opened the letter. It was written in Tamilia's neat handwriting, the same style she had used for love notes in his books. Jeff, I don't understand why you left or why your phone is disconnected, but I need you to know something important. I'm pregnant. We're going to have a baby. I know this is scary. It scares me too. But remember when we talked about our future? Maybe this is happening sooner than we planned, but it could still be beautiful. I love you. I love us. I love this tiny person we made together. Please come home. Please call me. Please don't leave me to do this alone. I'll wait for you. I'll wait as long as it takes. Forever yours, Tamilia. The letter was dated November 10th, 2014. Jeff had been in Boston for 2 weeks by then, burying himself in work to forget his own feelings. He had never seen this letter, never knew she was pregnant, never knew she had been waiting for him, but his father had known. There are more letters, Marcus said gently. 7 in total over 6 months, all sent to your family's address, all signed for by your father. Jeff's vision blurred as he read through them. The letters showed Tamilia's journey from hope to sadness, mentioning her struggles, tears, and how she had to leave school. By the 5th letter, her tone changed. She was angry and hurt, pleading for him to acknowledge her. The 6th letter was different. It was formal and cold, written on legal paper, warning of legal action regarding his responsibility for the child. Attached to it was a response from his father. Miss Morrison, my son Jeffrey Wilsman has no knowledge of Miss Baco's alleged pregnancy and no intention of acknowledging it. Miss Bako is a former acquaintance attempting to cause trouble for our family. Any further communications should stop immediately. The last letter was from Tamelia herself, dated August 3rd, 2015, 2 weeks after Amara was born. Jeff, I don't know if you're even receiving these letters, but I need to try one more time. Our daughter was born on July 18th. Her name is Amara. I chose it because no matter what happens, my love for you will never fade. She has your eyes. I just want to know if you're okay. I promise I won't contact you again. I'll raise Amara to be strong and kind. If she asks about her father, I'll tell her you were a wonderful man. Take care of yourself. Be happy, Tamelia. Jeff was in tears by the time he finished reading. Marcus handed him another file. Your father employed investigators to keep track of Tamelia and Amara for 5 years, he said. The photographs were heart-wrenching. Tamelia looked tired pushing a stroller, Amara playing while Tamelia watched from a distance, and Tamelia at her nursing school graduation holding her diploma with Amara beside her, tears on her cheeks. His father had been watching them as if they were part of some twisted project. Why? Jeff whispered. Control, Marcus replied simply. Your father wanted to ensure Tamelia never became a problem and that you wouldn't find out about your daughter accidentally. He stole my life, Jeff said, the words coming out broken. He stole 10 years of my life, 10 years of her life, and 10 years of Amara's life. Yes, Marcus agreed softly. Jeff stood up suddenly, the chair scraping against the floor. I need to see him. I need to confront him. Mr. Wilsman, maybe you should wait, Marcus suggested. No, Jeff replied firmly. I've waited long enough. An hour later, Jeff sat in the grand living room of his childhood home watching his father pour himself a drink while Jeff's world fell apart. You intercepted her letters, Jeff said firmly. All of them. For 10 years you knew I had a daughter and you never told me. Harold Wilsman did not act surprised. I did what was necessary to protect our family's interests. Protect our interests? Jeff's voice rose. You kept me from my child. I kept you from a mistake, Harold replied calmly. That woman would have ruined your life, Jeffrey. Look at what you've accomplished without her. I never wanted to take over your company, Jeff said through clenched teeth. All I ever wanted was to be with Tamelia and build a life together. She was a scholarship student from nowhere, Harold said. She's a nurse now. She saves lives every day. She raised our daughter to be amazing, even while you tried to tear them apart. Jeff took out his phone and showed Harold a picture from Amara's school website. This is Amara, your granddaughter. She's smart and beautiful, and she has always wondered why her father didn't want her. Harold looked at the picture, and for a brief moment, Jeff thought he noticed regret in his father's eyes. But then his expression returned to its usual hard look. Jeffrey, if you keep this relationship going, I will cut you off. You'll get no inheritance, no trust fund, no family help. Good, Jeff replied firmly. I don't want anything from you. I care about Des' happiness. A father should want his child to be loved. You're not a father. You're a manipulator who broke apart my family to save your business. Jeff showed Harold another picture he had saved from Amara's school website. Their daughter stood proudly with her blue ribbon. This is Amara, he said softly. She has been asking why you didn't want her, and it's all because you think your money is worth more than her right to have a father. Harold stared at the picture for a long moment, and Jeff thought he saw a flicker of recognition, maybe even regret. But then Harold's face hardened again. If you pursue that woman and her child, you'll have nothing from me. No inheritance, no support. Good, Jeff said again. I'm leaving the company now. I want to spend my life making up for lost time and being the father Amara deserves. You'll regret this, Harold warned as Jeff turned to leave. That woman will take everything from you. Jeff paused and looked back. She already gave me everything. She helped me find the best parts of myself. And she gave me a daughter who means more than your entire fortune. I'm the one who took everything from her. As Jeff walked out for the last time, he felt a new sense of freedom. For the first time in years, the weight of his father's expectations and family legacy fell away. He had a clear purpose, to prove to Tama he wasn't the same frightened young man who listened to his father. He would show Amara that when someone truly loves you, they fight for you, no matter the obstacles. Chapter 6. The Courage to Begin Again. The first time Jeff came to Roosevelt Elementary to help out, Tanya thought it was a coincidence. By the second visit, she suspected he had other reasons. By the fourth time, she realized he was sticking around. Mrs. Bacco, could you tell Mr. Wilsman that playground supervisors need to watch the kids instead of just standing by the fence? Mrs. Chen asked, clearly frustrated. Tama sighed, watching as Jeff stood uncertainly near the playground equipment, clearly unsure of how to interact with the lively group of children. "I'll talk to him," she said, although she wished she could just go over and ask him to stop complicating things. It had been 2 weeks since the science fair, and in that time Jeff had appeared like an uninvited guest. He volunteered for the book fair, donated computers, and convinced the principal to start an after-school science club, all without approaching Tama or Amara. But she could feel him watching from a distance, with a look of hope that tugged at her heart. "Mr. Wilsman," she called out as she approached. He turned around, and she noticed a flash of hope in his eyes before he hid it. "Of course." They walked to the edge of the playground, far enough to talk privately, but close enough to keep an eye on Amara, who was intensely focused on her hopscotch game with her friend Riley. "What are you doing?" Tama asked directly. "Volunteering," Jeff replied. "The school needed help, so I'm here." "That's not what I meant, and you know it." Jeff was quiet for a moment, watching Amara jump through the hopscotch squares. "I'm trying to understand her world," he finally admitted. "I don't know how to be a father. I want to learn what makes her happy and feel safe." His honesty caught her off guard. "I know you don't trust me," he continued. "I need to earn my place in her life. I'm not asking for quick forgiveness. I just want a chance to prove I'm not the person who left." Tama studied him, searching for any sign of insincerity, but all she saw was determination. It reminded her of the young man she had fallen for in college. "The playground supervisor position requires a background check," she said finally. "Already completed," he replied, along with the necessary child protection training and first aid certification. "You took first aid training just last weekend?" Tama asked, surprised. "The Red Cross offers quick courses," he said, then added quietly, "I wanted to be ready in case Amara needed help." Tama felt a small crack in her heart at this. She had taken first aid courses, too, worried about keeping her daughter safe. The thought that Jeff was preparing for something similar surprised her. "Mrs. Bowe," a small voice interrupted. "Tommy pushed me off the monkey bars and my knee hurts." Tama knelt to check 6-year-old Sarah's scraped knee. Just as she reached for her first aid kit, Jeff was there, crouching beside them. "Hey there, Sarah. That looks like it stings," he said gently. "Can I take a look?" he asked. Sarah nodded, trying hard not to cry. Jeff examined the scrape carefully. "The good news is it's not very deep," he said. "But we'll need to give it some special care. Are you brave enough for superhero Band-Aids?" Sarah's eyes lit up. "You have superhero Band-Aids?" Jeff smiled, pulling out a small first aid kit. "I have Wonder Woman, Superman, and Spider-Man. Which one do you think will help?" "Wonder Woman," Sarah decided right away. "She's the strongest." As Jeff carefully cleaned and bandaged Sarah's knee, explaining each step in simple words, Tanya remembered why she had fallen for him before. He was always good with people, patient and kind, making everyone feel important. Jeff smoothed the Wonder Woman Band-Aid in place and said, "Now you have super healing powers, but take it easy on the monkey bars for a few days." Sarah nodded seriously and then hugged Jeff tightly. "Thank you, Mr. Jeff." After Sarah ran back to her friends, showing off her superhero Band-Aid, Tama and Jeff stood in quiet for a moment. "You're great with her," Tama said softly. "Kids are honest," Jeff answered. "They say what they mean. It's refreshing after years of business talk." "Is that why you're here? To learn to connect with kids?" Jeff turned to her and she saw something sincere in his eyes. "I'm here because I lost years with my daughter, and I can't stand to lose anymore. I want to understand her world, her friends, what makes her laugh, and what challenges her. Being near her, even from a distance, feels like being myself again." His simple honesty took Tama by surprise, Before she could respond, Amara came running over excited. "Mom, Mr. Wilsman, did you see my hopscotch tournament? I won 3 games." "I saw," Jeff said, his face lighting up. "That was amazing. Your throws were brilliant." Amara smiled at his praise. "Riley says hopscotch is just luck, but I said it's really physics." "Riley's wrong," Jeff replied. "Hopscotch is definitely physics. Have you thought about what would happen if we changed the shape of the squares?" "No, but that would be fun to test." Amara's eyes gleamed with curiosity. "We could make hypotheses," Tama gently interrupted, sensing her daughter was about to dive into a big project. "We need to get home. You have homework, and I have to prepare for my catering job." "Okay," Amara said, though she looked sad to stop talking about hopscotch. As they gathered Amara's backpack and headed to the parking lot, Jeff walked beside them. Tama noticed how he positioned himself between Amara and the street and matched his pace to theirs, scanning their surroundings closely. "Mom, my car door is acting up again," Amara said when they reached their old Honda Civic. Tama felt worried. The door handle had been sticking for weeks, but she couldn't afford to get it fixed right now. She tugged on the handle, trying to get it to open, but today it wouldn't budge. "Let me try," Jeff offered. "It's okay," Tama said quickly. "Well managed." But Jeff was already looking at the door handle carefully. "It's just misaligned. If you have a screwdriver in your glove compartment, I can fix it in no time." "We don't need you to fix our car," Tama said more sharply than she intended. She felt defensive about their financial struggles in front of someone who likely had plenty of money. "I know you don't need me to," Jeff said gently, "but I'd like to help, if you'll let me." His voice was kind, and it made Tama relax a little. She grabbed her small toolkit from the trunk, and Jeff got to work on the door handle with ease. "There, good as new," he said, testing it. "How did you learn to do that?" Amara asked, impressed. "I used to fix things a lot when I was younger," Jeff replied. "Cars, appliances, you name it. I liked figuring out how things work." "You did?" Amara's eyes widened. "I love figuring out how things work, too. Mom says I take everything apart in our apartment." "And do you put it back together?" Jeff asked, trying to be serious. "Usually," Amara said with a grin. "Sometimes it works even better than before." Jeff laughed, a real laugh that filled Tama with warmth. It had been so long since she had seen him laugh like that, full of joy. "Thank you," she said quietly, as Jeff closed the hood after fixing the door. "Thank you for letting me," he replied, and there was something deeper in his voice, as if he was grateful for more than just the car repair. As they got ready to leave, Amara turned to Jeff. "Mr. Wilsman, are you coming to school tomorrow for science club?" "If Mrs. Chen doesn't ban me for being bad at playground supervision," Jeff said with a smile. "You're not bad," Amara said. "You helped Sarah. You know about hopscotch physics, and you fixed our car. You're pretty good at it." Jeff looked touched by her words. "Thank you, Amara. That really means a lot to me." As they drove home, Amara chattered about her day and her excitement for the science club tomorrow. Tama thought about the man they left in the school parking lot. This wasn't the distant CEO she had seen 2 weeks ago. This was someone kinder and more open, a person who had superhero band-aids and knew how to fix doors and listen to kids with real interest. He reminded her of the boy she had loved 10 years ago. That night, after Amara fell asleep, Tama sat at her kitchen table with tea, trying to think about the day. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Thank you for letting me be part of her world today, even if just for a moment. I know I don't deserve your trust, but I'll keep showing up anyway. Not because I want to push into your lives, but because she deserves to know her father wants to be there for her. Jeff." Tama stared at the message for a long time before replying. "She asked about you tonight, if you'll really be at science club tomorrow. I told her yes, you would be. Don't make me a liar." His reply came quickly. "I'll be there. I promise." And for the first time in 10 years, Tama believed that maybe Jeff Wilsman's promises could mean something again. Outside her kitchen window, the Seattle night was wide and full of possibilities. Somewhere in the city, Jeff was likely awake too, thinking about simple games and band-aids, and how happy their daughter looked when she talked about science. For the first time since that night on the bus, Tama allowed herself to think that maybe some people really could change, and maybe some love stories deserved another chance. Chapter 7. Healing the Wounds of Yesterday. The phone rang at 2:17 a.m. on a Tuesday, waking Tama from a troubled sleep. Seeing Amara's name on her phone made her heart race. Her daughter was supposed to be safe in her bed. Mrs. Bo, this is Dr. Patterson at Seattle Children's Hospital. Your daughter was brought in about an hour ago with signs of pneumonia. She's stable, but we'd like you to come in, the doctor said. Tama felt her world turn upside down. Pneumonia? But Amara was fine when she went to bed. Just a little cough. Children can get sick quickly with respiratory problems, Dr. Patterson explained gently. She's responding well to treatment, but she has been asking for you. Tama hurriedly changed into clothes, her hands shaking as she looked for her keys. Their neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, must have found Amara struggling and called for help. Tama's phone showed 3 missed calls. She had slept through them, exhausted from working late. The drive to the hospital was a blur of rain-slicked streets and flashing lights. Her mind raced with worries. What if she lost Amara? What if she missed the signs? Room 3 and 14, the nurse said. Tama ran down the hallway, her heart pounding. Amara looked so small in the hospital bed, surrounded by machines, an oxygen mask covering her face, but her eyes sparkled when she saw her mother. "Mama," she whispered as Tama hugged her carefully, avoiding the lines and cables. "I'm here, baby. I'm right here," Tama said softly. "I couldn't breathe," Amara said, her voice muffled. "I was scared you wouldn't find me." "He'll always find you," Tama promised, smoothing Amara's hair from her hot forehead. "Always, doctor." Patterson appeared in the doorway, a kind lady with gray hair and caring eyes. "She'll be fine," she reassured Tama. "It's bacterial pneumonia caught early. We have her on medicine. She should go home in a few days." Relief washed over Tama, and she needed to sit down. "Thank you," she said. "There's a Mr. Wilsman in the waiting room asking about her," Dr. Patterson added. "He says he's a family friend." Tama's heart skipped. Jeff was there. He'd been there for about an hour. Mrs. Rodriguez had Amara's emergency contact list, and Jeff's number was on it from school. Tama closed her eyes. She had put his name down without thinking much about it. "Can you stay with her for a minute?" Tama asked Dr. Patterson. "Of course," the doctor replied. Tama found Jeff in the waiting area, pacing nervously. He was dressed hastily, in jeans and a wrinkled shirt. His hair was messy, and his eyes were filled with worry. "How is she?" he asked as soon as he saw Tama. "She's going to be okay," Tama said, watching Jeff visibly relax. "They caught it early." Jeff sat down heavily in one of the hard chairs. "Mrs. Rodriguez called me around 1:30. She was upset, saying Amara couldn't breathe, and the ambulance was on the way. I had to be here." "You didn't have to come," Tama said gently, as she sat next to him. "Yes, I did," Jeff replied, looking deeply into her eyes. "She's my daughter, too. When I hear she's in the hospital, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else." His words opened something in Tama's heart. This was what she hoped for years ago, a partner who would be there during tough times. "She was asking for you," Tama said softly. "In the ambulance, she kept saying she wanted her mom and her dad." Jeff's breath caught. "She called me her dad?" "Yes, kind of. Mrs. Rodriguez said she mentioned the nice man from school who knows about science." Tears fell from Jeff's eyes, and he didn't wipe them away. "Can I see her?" he asked. They walked back to Amara's room together. Their daughter was sleepy from medicine, but she smiled when she saw Jeff. "Mr. Jeff," she said, her voice still a bit weak. "You came?" "Of course," Jeff said, moving closer. "I heard you weren't feeling well, and I wanted to make sure you were okay." "The doctors are nice," Amara said seriously, "and the machines are really interesting. They can measure how much oxygen is in your blood." "That is amazing," Jeff said, smiling through his tears. "Are you feeling better?" "A little. My chest still hurts, but not as much. I'm not scared anymore because Mom is here and you're here, too." We're both here, Jeff agreed, sharing a look with Tama over Amara's head. We're not going anywhere. Dr. Patterson returned to check on Amara. She's responding well to treatment, the doctor said, but it will be a long night. You can take turns if you want. The chairs fold out to form beds. I'm staying, Tama said right away. Me too, Jeff added. You don't have to, Tama began. Try to make me leave, Jeff interrupted gently. Just try. As the night went on, they found a rhythm. Tama held Amara's hand while Jeff read from a science book he found in the gift shop. When Amara fell asleep, they sat quietly so they wouldn't wake her. I keep thinking about what if Mrs. Rodriguez hadn't been there, Tama said quietly. If she hadn't heard Amara coughing or thought to check on her. But she was there, Jeff replied firmly. And Amara is okay this time. Tama wrapped her arms around herself. But what about next time? What if I'm working late and something happens? What if I fail her? You didn't fail her, Jeff said softly. You gave her a neighbor who cares enough to listen and a community who looks out for her. You gave her a mother who would do everything to keep her safe. I feel like I gave her a life where she depends on neighbors because her father wasn't there, Tama said sadly. No, Jeff said, his voice steady. You gave her a life full of love, even though her father was not a good person who cared more about money than family. Tama found it surprising how honest Jeff was. When she looked closely at him, she saw not just a successful CEO or a man filled with guilt, but someone who felt just as broken and scared as she did. I used to lie awake at night when she was little, Tama said quietly, worried about what I would do if she got sick or upset and I was all she had. It was a lonely feeling. You weren't alone, Jeff replied softly. I know you felt that way, and am sorry for that, but you had people who cared about you. You built a family, even if it wasn't the one we planned. I wanted the family we planned, she whispered. I wanted it so much. Tell me about it, he urged. Tell me what I missed. So she did, sitting in the quiet hospital room while their daughter slept. Tama shared memories about her pregnancy cravings for mint chocolate chip ice cream at odd hours, going to childbirth classes alone while practicing breathing exercises with a teddy bear for company. She talked about the moment their daughter was born, how the midwife placed her on Tama's chest, and how she noticed the baby had Jeff's beautiful green eyes. Tama recounted Amara's first word, Mama, and how she took her first steps at 11 months. She also remembered a time when 3-year-old Amara took apart the toaster out of curiosity and managed to put it back together so well that it worked even better than before. She started asking about you when she was 4, Tama shared. Not all the time, but sometimes, especially when she saw other kids with their dads. She wanted to know if you were smart like her, if you had green eyes like her. What did you tell her? Jeff asked. The truth. I told her you were the smartest and kindest man I knew. I told her she got her clever mind from you and that wherever you were, you would be proud of her. Jeff wiped silent tears from his cheeks, illuminated by the monitor's blue light. How could you say those things about me after what I did? Because it's true, Tama replied. Just because you left doesn't change who you are. I still love the man who shared so much with me. I know why you left now, she continued. Your father's threats and the pressure must have been terrible for a young man, but you need to understand what it did to me. I lost my boyfriend and my best friend and my dreams for the future. I'm so sorry, Jeff said softly. I regret leaving you every single day. Then why didn't you come back? Tama asked, sounding more vulnerable than she meant to. Even if you believed your father at first, you're smart. You had to see he was manipulating you. Jeff was quiet for a moment, watching Amara sleep. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. Because I was scared. I convinced myself you were better off without me, that you had moved on and found someone better. I never moved on, Tama said quietly. There was no one else. You set the bar so high. Jeff looked at her in amazement. I went on a few dates, but nothing felt right. Nothing compared to what I had with you. Tama gently brushed her hand against Amara's face. She felt fulfilled, building a life for her daughter, but lonely too. I'm here now, Jeff said, his tone steady and sincere. I know I need to earn your trust back. But I'm here for you both, no matter what." "What does that mean?" Tama asked, confused. "It means I cut ties with my father and his company," he explained. "I'm using my trust fund to create scholarships for single mothers in medical school. I've bought a house in Amara's school district so I can be near her. I'm not going anywhere, whether you let me back in your life or not." Tama stared at him. "You did all that?" "I did," he confirmed. "Because this," he gestured to their sleeping daughter, "is my family. You both are my family, and I will never let anyone else decide what is important to me." His words hung in the air, filled with the weight of 10 years of regret and hope. Tama felt something shift within her, like a door she had locked long ago was finally creaking open. "Jeff, I love you," she admitted. "I've loved you since we were young, and I'll still love you when I'm old. I love the woman I was in school, and the mother you've become. I love how you've raised our daughter to be kind and clever." "Don't," he whispered, but she didn't pull away. "I'm not asking for your love back," he continued. "Not yet. I just want a chance to earn it, to show you that I'm not the scared boy who ran away." Amara stirred in her sleep, and both parents leaned forward, instinctively comforting her. For a moment, they worked together to reassure their child, united in their love. "She needs both of us," Tama said softly, watching Amara settle back to sleep. "Yes," Jeff agreed. "She does." "I'm scared," Tama confessed. "I'm scared of trusting you again. I'm afraid of letting you back in our lives just to lose you again. I'm scared for Amara." "I'm scared too," Jeff replied honestly. "I'm afraid I won't be good enough and that even 10 years apart will be too hard to come back from." "Maybe we can be scared together," Tama suggested, and something in her voice made Jeff look at her closely. "I never stopped loving you either," she hurriedly said, her feelings rushing out after years of holdback. "I tried to move on, but you're still there in every good memory." In every happy moment with Amara, you feel her joy, her curiosity, and her strong will. You see how she tackles challenges and views the world. "I couldn't stop caring for you because you're part of all the good in my life." Jeff held Tanya's hand tightly. "Does that mean I should try?" Tanya asked, her voice trembling. "It means I want to believe people can change, that love can triumph over fear, and that our family can be what we've always hoped it would be. Are you sure?" Instead of answering, Tama stood up and moved closer to Jeff. He looked at her, and she could see her own feelings reflected in his eyes. The same hope, the same wishful longing. "I'm sure," she whispered, leaning down to kiss him gently. The kiss was soft at first, like they were both afraid of losing this moment. But soon Jeff's hand cradled her face, and Tama felt a wave of relief. This was home. This was what she had been missing for 10 years. Not just touch, but the warmth of being truly known and loved. When they pulled apart, both of them had tears in their eyes. "I missed you," Jeff said softly. "Every day I thought of you." "I missed you too," Tama replied. "So much it felt like a part of me was gone." They held each other in the dimly lit hospital room, with their daughter sleeping soundly nearby. For the first time in 10 years, they both felt whole. Outside, dawn was breaking over Seattle, filling the sky with bright colors and fresh possibilities. "What happens now?" Tanya asked, resting her head on Jeff's shoulder. "Now we take it one day at a time," Jeff said, kissing her hair. "Now we learn how to be a family. Now we show Amara what it looks like when two people love each other enough to work for their happiness." "I want that," Tanya said. "I want all of that." "Then we will have it," Jeff promised. "Whatever it takes, however long it takes, we will make it happen." As the sun rose over the city, Amara stirred and opened her eyes to see both her parents beside her, holding hands and smiling through their tears. "Are you both okay?" she asked, her voice still sleepy but caring. "We're perfect," Tanya said, kissing her daughter's forehead. "We're finally perfect." And for the first time in Amara's life, she fell back asleep, feeling safe and surrounded by her parents' love and the promise of all the tomorrows they would share together. Chapter 8. The moment truth changes everything. 3 weeks after the hospital, Amara was back to her lively self. Even though Tama still felt concern when her daughter coughed, Jeff was no longer just a friendly face, but a steady presence. He picked Amara up from school, helped her with homework, fixed things around the house, and taught her new skills. Today was Amara's 10th birthday, and Jeff had planned an amazing celebration. Their small apartment was filled with colorful decorations, and the table was stacked with beautifully wrapped gifts. "Close your eyes," Jeff said, placing a big box in front of Amara. "This one is special." Amara giggled and covered her eyes while Tama watched from the kitchen, her heart full. "Okay, open them," Amara gasped when she saw a telescope, a high-quality instrument. "It's just like the ones used by real astronomers," Jeff explained, kneeling beside her. "We can set it up tonight and look at the moon and stars." "Is this really for me?" Amara asked, running her fingers over the smooth metal. "Really," Jeff replied. "I thought you needed tools to explore the universe." Amara hugged Jeff tightly. "Thank you. This is the best present ever." "You're welcome," Jeff said. "But there's something else I want to give you today." Amara tilted her head, curious. "What is it?" Jeff glanced at Tama, who nodded in encouragement. They had talked about this moment for days, trying to find the right words. Watching their daughter's face light up with happiness, Tama knew the moment was perfect. "You know how you've always wondered about your dad?" Jeff asked. Amara's expression turned serious. "Yeah, Mom says he was really smart and would be proud of me." "Your mom is right," Jeff said, his voice full of feeling. "He is so proud of you every day." "How do you know?" Amara asked, puzzled. Jeff took a deep breath. "Because, Amara, I'm your dad." The words hung in the air. Amara stared at Jeff with wide eyes, trying to understand. "You're my dad?" she asked slowly. "My real dad?" "Yes," Jeff confirmed. "I knew it!" she exclaimed, her face lighting up with a big smile. "I felt it inside me. You have my eyes and you think like me. It's like we're meant to be together." Jeff was taken aback by her joyful response. He had worried about how she would react, fearing anger or confusion. He never expected such happiness. "You're not mad?" he asked quietly. "Why would I be?" Amara replied matter-of-factly. "I've been wanting a dad my whole life, and it turns out I had one all along. That's the best birthday surprise ever." Jeff laughed through tears. "I'm sorry I wasn't here before. I'm sorry it took me so long to find you." "But you're here now," Amara said, echoing his earlier words. "That's what matters, right?" "I'm never leaving," Jeff promised, hugging her tightly. "You're stuck with me forever." "Good," Amara said with determination, "because I have a lot of science experiments planned, and I need an assistant." Tama wiped away tears, watching her daughter and Jeff embrace. 10 years of time apart could heal in a single hug. This was what love looked like. Not perfect, with flaws, but whole and unbreakable. "So," Amara said, pulling back to look at her parents, "does this mean we're a family now? Like officially?" "We've always been a family," Tama said, joining them on the couch. "We just missed apart for a while, but now we're all together," Amara said with satisfaction. "Mom, Dad, and me a real family." Hearing Amara call him Dad made Jeff take a deep breath. 10 years of wondering and longing, and it all led to this moment, his daughter embracing him like it was the most natural thing. "Can I ask you something?" Amara said, looking between her parents with curiosity. "Anything," Jeff replied. "Why weren't you here before? I'm not mad. I just want to understand." Jeff and Tama exchanged glances. They had anticipated this question and thought carefully about how to explain their past. Sometimes, Jeff said slowly, "Adults make really poor choices when they are scared. When I was younger, I let others convince me that leaving was the right thing, even though it felt wrong inside. I thought I was protecting you and your mom, but really I was just being weak." "What made you change your mind?" Amara asked. "I saw you," Jeff replied simply. "At the science fair, I watched you, this bright and wonderful girl explaining things like it was art, and I realized I had been foolish. I understood that nothing mattered more than being your dad." Amara thought about this seriously. like someone much older than 10. Well, I'm glad you figured that out, even if it took a long time. Me too, Jeff said, and I promise I will make much better choices from now on, starting with this one. He reached into his pocket and took out a small velvet box, making Tanya gasp. Jeff, she warned, what are you doing? Something I should have done long ago, he said, kneeling in front of both Tama and Amara. I want to do this in front of our daughter so she knows I keep my promises now. Amara's eyes widened. Are you going to ask Mom to marry you? If she'll agree to it, Jeff replied, looking deeply into Tama's eyes. Tama Bako, you are the love of my life, the mother of our child, and the strongest person I know. I know I don't deserve another chance, but I'm asking for one anyway. Will you marry me? Let me spend my life showing that I can be worthy of you and Amara? Tama stared at the ring, which caught the light and made her heart skip. It felt too soon. They had only been back together for 3 weeks. They had so much to talk about. But then she saw Amara's excited face and Jeff's vulnerable expression filled with love, and she considered it all. Say yes, Mom, Amara urged, bursting with enthusiasm. Please say yes, I want us to be a true family. But we are a real family, Tama said, smiling through her tears. But yes, I will marry you. Jeff's face lit up with relief and joy as he placed the ring on her finger. It fit perfectly, and suddenly, Tama remembered it was the exact ring they had looked at in a jewelry store window many years ago when they were young and had dreams of a bright future. You remembered, she whispered. I remembered everything, Jeff said, kissing her hand. Every talk, every dream, every promise we made. I've carried them for 10 years, waiting for the chance to make them real. This is so sweet, Amara cheered, clapping her hands. Are we going to have a wedding? Can I be the maid of honor? Can we have cake? We will have the biggest, most beautiful wedding you want, Jeff promised, hugging both Tama and Amara close, imagining cake, flowers, and dancing. And you'll truly be my dad forever, Amara asked, suddenly serious again. You won't change your mind or have to leave for work or anything? I will definitely be your dad forever, Jeff said firmly. I'll adopt you officially if that's what you want, so everyone knows you're mine. I'll be at every event, school fair and game. I'll help with homework and even walk you down the aisle one day, unless I lock you up to keep boys away. Amara giggled. You can't lock me up. That's silly. Maybe a very tall house with good security, Jeff said, and both his girls laughed. As they sat together on the couch, Amara between her parents, admiring Thomas' ring and planning the wedding, they didn't notice the black car parked across the street, or the photographer capturing their happy family moment. In his downtown office, Harold Wilsman looked at the photos with a cold stare. His son had chosen another path, leaving the family business for a nurse and her child. It was disappointing but not surprising. Jeffrey had always been too soft-hearted, but Harold had built his success by never backing down and wouldn't let this go easily. If Jeffrey wished to abandon his family for this woman and her daughter, he would make it difficult for them. Harold picked up his phone and called a familiar number. Helena, it's Harold Wilsman. I think it's time we talked about your return to Seattle. Jeffrey seems to need help making better life choices. But in Tama's small apartment, filled with birthday decorations and laughter, the Wilsman family was too wrapped up in their happiness to notice the challenges ahead. For now, they enjoyed this moment, all being who they were meant to be. Amara looked at the ring on her mother's finger, then at Jeff's face, and back at her mom. I love you both so much, she said simply. Thank you for finding each other again. Thank you for finding me. Thank you for waiting for us. Thank you for being patient while we figured out how to be the parents you deserve, Jeff replied, kissing the top of her head. Thank you for being exactly who you are, Tama said, embracing both her husband Tobey and their daughter. Thank you for being our hope and our heart. Outside, Seattle sparkled in the afternoon sun, full of possibilities and new beginnings. In that small apartment filled with love, a family that had been broken was now beautifully whole. They set up the telescope on the fire escape, and Jeff showed Amara how to find Jupiter while Tama made hot chocolate, a birthday tradition from when Amara was 4. Dad, look! Amara exclaimed. Jupiter has stripes and little dots. Are those moons? Those are really moons, Jeff confirmed, his heart swelling every time she called him Dad. Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. Galileo discovered them over 400 years ago. We're seeing what he saw. That's like traveling through time. Jeff caught Tama's eye over their daughter's head, both amazed at the bright mind they had nurtured together. Make a wish, Jeff told Amara as they saw a shooting star. I don't need to, Amara replied, safe between her parents under a blanket. Everything I ever wished for already came true. As the stars twinkled above, the loving family held each other close, dreaming of the tomorrows to come, unaware that their biggest challenge was still ahead, but confident they could face anything together. Chapter 9. When love faces its biggest challenge, the legal papers arrived on a Tuesday morning, delivered by an apologetic courier. Inside was a document that made Tama's heart drop. Helena Ashworth Wilsman versus Jeffrey Wilsman and Tamia Bako, a petition for emergency custody of minor child Amara Bako. Tanya's hands trembled as she read, "The petitioner seeks emergency custody of the minor child, Amara Bako, age 10, claiming that the current living situation is unsafe for the child. The biological father has shown a pattern of disappearing and instability, having left all parental duties for 10 years before returning to the child's life. The biological mother has made poor choices by allowing an unreliable person around her daughter." The words blurred as tears formed in her eyes. Helena Ashworth Wilsman, Jeff's ex-wife, was the woman he had married briefly in Boston before they divorced 2 years later. Tanya had never met her, but she recognized the name. She was from an old, wealthy family, the kind Harold Wilsman had always wanted his son to marry. "Mom!" Amara called from the kitchen doorway, backpack over her shoulder ready for school. "What's wrong? You look worried." Tanya quickly folded the papers, trying to smile. "Nothing, sweetheart. Just some boring adult stuff. Are you ready for your math test today? I studied with Dad last night, remember? He said I could probably teach the class myself at this point." Amara's face brightened at the mention of Jeff, just like it always did. In the 2 months since they had become a family, she had blossomed with the confidence that both her parents loved her completely. The thought of someone trying to take that away made Tanya feel sick to her stomach. "Mom, seriously, what's in those papers?" Amara asked, her young intuition cutting through Tanya's efforts to hide her worry. "You look like you did when I was in the hospital." Before Tanya could respond, Jeff's key turned in the lock. He had officially moved in 3 weeks ago after a fast engagement, and a simple wedding with only Amara, Mrs. Rodriguez, and Tanya's mother there to witness. They planned a bigger celebration later, but no one wanted to wait to be a family. "Good morning, beautiful girls," Jeff called as he entered the kitchen with coffee and pastries from Amara's favorite bakery. But his smile disappeared when he saw Tanya's expression. "What's wrong?" Without saying a word, Tanya handed him the legal papers. She watched as his face changed from confusion to understanding, then to a deep anger that made him step back. "That," he said quietly, then quickly turned to Amara. "Sorry, sweetheart. That's not a nice thing to say." "Who's Helena Ashworth Wilsman?" Amara asked, reading over his shoulder with a quickness that made her parents both proud and anxious. Jeff closed the papers before she could see more. "She's someone from my past before I came back to you and your mom, and she wants to take me away." Amara's voice was small and scared, which broke both of their hearts. "No one is taking you anywhere," Jeff said firmly, kneeling to her level. "I promise you, Amara, no one is ever going to separate our family." "But she says you abandoned me," Amara said, her eyes filling with tears. "She says Mom made bad choices." "She says a lot of things that aren't true," Tanya said, pulling her daughter into a tight hug. "Some people try to hurt others by saying mean things in legal papers, but that doesn't make them true." "Then why is she doing this?" Amara asked. Jeff and Tanya exchanged worried looks over their daughter's head. "How do you explain to a 10-year-old that some people use children as pawns in bigger games driven by money and power?" "Sometimes," Jeff said carefully, "when people are angry about the choices other people make, They try to use the courts to get their way. Helena is upset that I chose to be with you and your mom instead of staying married to her. But you love us, Amara said, as if that should solve everything. More than anything in the world, Jeff agreed. And that's why we're going to fight this and win. After they sent Amara off to school with plenty of hugs and reassurance, Jeff called his lawyer while Tanya paced the kitchen, reading the custody papers over and over. Richard, I need you to drop everything, Jeff said on the phone. Helena's filing for emergency custody of Amara. Yes, I know it sounds crazy. No, I don't care what it costs because she's my daughter and I'm not losing her. The lawyer's responses were clearly not encouraging, judging by Jeff's increasingly tense replies. What do you mean she has grounds? Jeff asked angrily. I've been in Amara's life consistently for months now. Yes, I understand that 10 years of absence doesn't look good. No, Tanya is not an unfit mother. That's absurd. Just then, Tanya's phone rang from an unknown number. Miss Bako, this is Helena Ashworth-Wilsman. I think we need to talk. The voice was sharp and educated, with a clear accent. Tanya's free hand tightened into a fist. I have nothing to say to you. Meet me for coffee in an hour. Pike Place Market, second-level cafe. Come alone. I'm not Miss Bako. I have lawyers and resources, and I believe a child should have stability, not be caught in a chaotic situation. 1 hour. And the line went dead. Who was that? Jeff asked after finishing his call. Helena. She wants to meet. Absolutely not, Jeff said immediately. Tanya, you can't. I have to, Tanya interrupted. If there's any chance of resolving this without putting Amara through a battle in court, I have to try. An hour later, Tanya sat across from Helena Ashworth-Wilsman in a cafe overlooking Elliott Bay. Helena was striking in the way of someone who had never doubted her worth. Blonde, elegant, and graceful, she looked like she could be on magazine covers. You're prettier than I expected, Helena said, stirring sugar into her coffee. I can see why Jeffrey was attracted to you. What do you want? Tanya asked. I want Jeffrey back, Helena said simply. And I'm ready to use whatever means I can, even trying to take our daughter. Your daughter is leverage. I don't truly want custody of a 10-year-old. Children are noisy and get in the way of travel, but Jeffrey has always cared deeply about family. The coldness of her words made Tanya feel sick. You're talking about a child. I'm talking about a valuable asset, Helena interrupted, one that you're going to help me control. I would never do that. Oh, but you will. Because otherwise you'll face a very public court fight that will hurt your daughter and expose every detail of your relationship to the public. Tanya's stomach twisted at the thought. There's nothing wrong with working hard to support my family. Of course not, Helena replied smoothly. But a good lawyer can twist anything to look bad. The night shifts at the clinic while your daughter was alone, the catering jobs that kept you away on weekends, and how quickly you let Jeffrey into her life after 10 years apart could all be questioned. He's her father, Tanya insisted. Helena smiled with a predatory look. Because my lawyers have been very thorough, Miss Bako. There's no paternity test on file. For all the court knows, you're just a desperate single mother who's convinced a little girl to call a wealthy man daddy. The words struck Tanya hard. Everything Helena said was technically correct. In their happiness at being back together, they had ignored the legal steps needed. Amara's birth certificate listed her father as unknown, and they planned to sort out the adoption papers after the wedding. What do you want? Tama asked again, sounding empty. I want you to tell Jeffrey that this relationship isn't working, Helena said. I want you to say that the pressure is too high, that Amara is confused and acting out, and that you think it's better if he steps back for a bit. I want you to end things with him. If you do that, he'll drop the custody case and say I was just worried about the child's well-being, but now I see everything has worked out on its own. But everyone loses except Amara, Tama pointed out, and Jeff and me. Well, Helena shrugged, you can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs. Tama looked at Helena, who was beautiful and rich but completely lacking in morals. This made her feel a deep anger that surprised her. No, she replied simply. Helena raised her eyebrows. What did you say? No, Tama replied, standing up with trembling hands but a steady voice. I'm not going to ruin my family to feed your need for control. If you want to challenge us in court, go ahead. But I won't hand over Jeffrey and Amara just because you threaten us. Miss Bacco, you don't grasp what you're facing, Morrison said coldly. I understand perfectly, Tama interrupted. I'm facing a spoiled woman who thinks people are possessions. But what you don't get is that Jeffrey isn't the same man you married. He won't be pushed around or threatened into leaving his family. And Diara and I are here to stay. Helena's calm demeanor cracked a bit. You're making a mistake. I have resources you can't even imagine. And I have something you'll never understand, Tama said, leaning in. I have a family worth fighting for. I have a daughter who deserves both her parents and a husband who would do anything to protect us. You can't buy that or scare it away. We'll see, Helena replied coldly. As Tama left the cafe, her phone buzzed with a text from Jeff. How did it go? He asked. She wants you back and is using Amara as leverage, Tama typed. But I told her no. Good, come home. We need to prepare. But when Tama got home, she saw Jeff at their kitchen table with a man in an expensive suit. Helena's lawyer. Tama, Jeff said, looking pale. This is David Morrison. He's representing Helena. Miss Bacco, Morrison said coldly, I'm here to tell you that my client has filed an emergency motion for temporary custody, claiming there's new evidence of danger. What evidence? Tama demanded. Morrison held up photos. These show the child walking to school alone, crossing busy streets without an adult. Tama looked at the pictures of Amara's normal morning routine. She walks to school. Lots of kids do. Not kids in custody cases, Morrison replied. The hearing is tomorrow at 9 a.m. After he left, Jeff and Tama sat in shocked silence. They are going to take her, Tama whispered. No, Jeff said fiercely, pulling her close. They are not taking Amara. Later, when Amara came home excited about a science project, they had to share the news about the court hearing. But I don't want to live with Helena, Amara said, looking scared. I want to stay with you and Dad. We are going to fight for you, Jeff promised. No matter what happens, we will fight for our family. Chapter 10. Love's Perfect Victory. The King County Courthouse buzzed with tension. Judge Patricia Chen ran courtroom 4B with no-nonsense efficiency. Tama sat beside Jeff, feeling outmatched by Helena's legal team. But behind them sat a group of unexpected supporters. Mrs. Rodriguez, Dr. Martinez, nurses from the clinic, teachers from Amara's school, and Tama's mother, Maria, who had flown in despite her fear of flying. This court only cares about what is best for the child, Judge Chen began. Nothing else matters. Helena's lawyer called a private investigator to the stand. Instead of helping their case, he said Amara seemed happy and confident. The whole neighborhood looks out for her. She seems aware and connected compared to most kids. Mrs. Rodriguez spoke about Tama's devotion, saying Amara thrived with Jeff in her life. Dr. Martinez talked about Tama's professionalism, but it was Maria's testimony that truly moved the courtroom. My daughter, she said in heavily accented English. She gave up everything for Amara, her medical school, her dreams, everything. She works 3 jobs, doesn't complain. She makes sure Amara has what she needs: love, education, values. When Jeff returned, I saw my daughter happy again. I see my granddaughter with her papa who loves her. Mrs. Tobacco, Richard asked gently, do you believe Amara is better off with both her parents? Maria's eyes filled with tears and she said, Mijo, you hurt my daughter a long time ago, but now I see how you love them both. Amara needs her papa. Family is family. When it was time for Amara to share her thoughts, Judge Chen invited her into a private room instead of placing her on the stand in the open court. Jeff and Tama joined her along with both legal teams. Amara sat in the big chair, her feet swinging as she answered questions clearly and confidently. Amara, Judge Chen said kindly, do you understand why we're here today? Yes, ma'am. Some lady named Helena wants me to live with her instead of my mom and dad. And how do you feel about that? Amara's face turned serious. I don't want to live with Helena. I don't even know her. She has never read me bedtime stories or helped with my homework. Why would I want to live with someone who doesn't know me? Tell me about your dad, Judge Chen prompted. Jeff, how long have you known he was your father? I figured it out at the science fair, Amara said with pride. He has the same eyes as me, and he thinks about problems like I do. Plus, he felt like family right away. And do you feel safe with him? Super safe, Amara answered immediately. He carries first aid supplies in case I get hurt, and he knows how to help me with my cuts and scrapes. He teaches me about science and helps with math that is too hard for others. And he makes my mom happy. She smiles all the time now. What would you say to Helena if she were here? Judge Chen asked. Amara thought for a moment. I'd say thank you for caring about me, but I already have a family. I don't need a rich mom. I need the mom who stayed up all night when I was sick and worked hard to buy me books. And I don't need a rich dad. I need the dad who reads me stories and promises hell never leave. Judge Chen nodded slowly. One more question, Amara. What makes you happy? Spending time with my mom and dad makes me very happy, Amara said without a doubt. I love learning new things, doing experiments, and knowing that when I get home from school, they will both be there, eager to hear about my day. That brings me joy. In the courtroom, things suddenly grew loud. Harold Wilsman came in with FBI agents and a woman with a briefcase. Your Honor, the woman introduced herself as Agent Kim from the FBI Financial Crimes Division. We have important information about this case. We have been looking into embezzlement at the Wilsman Foundation. For the last 3 years, Helena Ashworth Wilsman has been taking money from the foundation to pay for this custody battle as part of an extortion plan. Helena turned pale. Harold walked to the witness stand. 10 years ago, I made a huge mistake, he said, looking at Amara. I pushed my son to leave the woman he loved. Yesterday, I met Amara for the first time. She is smart, kind, confident, and clearly loved very much. My son has found his true family, and I will not let my past mistakes harm his future again. Judge Chen remained quiet for a moment. In 30 years of being a judge, I have rarely seen a case where what is best for the child is so clear. This little girl is thriving. Miss Ashworth Wilsman, your request is denied. The courtroom filled with cheers. Amara jumped into Jeff's arms while Tamila cried tears of joy. 6 months later, the Wilsman family stood on a hill overlooking Puget Sound. Jeff had rented a campsite for the weekend and brought Amara's telescope and s'mores supplies. Look, Mom! Amara shouted from the telescope. I found Jupiter! You can see 3 of its moons! Jeff came up beside Tamila and took her hand. A year ago, I thought I had lost my chance for happiness forever. But standing here with you and Amara, I see I have something even greater, a life more beautiful than I could have imagined. He dropped to one knee and opened a small velvet box. We are already married, but I never really proposed with our daughter as a witness. Will you marry me again in front of all our friends and family this time? Yes, Tamila said, laughing through her tears. Yes, 1,000 times. Yes. 3 months later, they renewed their vows in a garden overlooking Elliott Bay, surrounded by everyone who had stood by them. Amara was the maid of honor, shining with pride for her parents' love. The story did not end with a simple happy ever after, but with a new beginning. In their new home, Jeff taught Amara advanced math while Tamila, who was now expecting twins, watched from the kitchen doorway and marveled at the family they had created from difficult times. Mom, Amara called, working on a genetics project, do you think the babies will be as smart as me? Smarter, Tamila replied, her hand on her growing belly. They will have the advantage of growing up in a home full of love from day one. Jeff caught Tamila's eye, his face full of affection and wonder. They had traveled a long, tough road, but every struggle had been worth it for this moment. This perfect, loving family. Love had triumphed, as it always does when it fights for what matters most.